just a kid's show? Well, that's funny coming from me, but Thomas may be a show intended for children of all audiences. Yes, even for a young demographic and a niche audience, I understand that. But Thomas and Friends always proves itself that it is way more than just being your average kid's show. The series has pointed out having some darker and messed up moments in the series. In Grandpuff, Smudger was turned into a generator alive after coming off the rails so many times. In Donald and Douglas Send Toad Stands By, both the spiteful Breakvan and Scruffy are ripped apart by two separate engines. In Stepney Gets Lost, Stepney was almost murdered in the scrapyards by Ari and Bert as he was shunted into another part of the line where a large grabber was about to grab him, but was soon rescued by the Fat Controller in the end. In the Railway series, Godward was used as spare parts after falling off a mountain because the mountain railway couldn't afford to pay any money to repair him. And in the 2015 Christmas special, Diesel's Ghostly Christmas, Diesel is threatened by Thomas as the ghost of Christmas future that if he doesn't change his ways, he would stay derailed for the rest of his life with nobody to help him back on the rails. Speaking of spooky elements or darker stories in the series, these were the moments that can give younger kids scares more than how bigger kids get scared. But they did have sorts of entertainment that can also make kids enjoy the stories too. Even an adult or a teen fan like me, myself, can see this sort of content, but not like in a way where I go, "Ooh, this is too inappropriate for children," like that in a butthurt moral guardian type of way. But if you're gonna make up stupid excuses like, "This is a kid's show that's made for kids," does this line ever even excuse the show's bad qualities?
His firebox was on fire. His firebox was on fire. His firebox was on fire.
Do you really think that you could excuse some of the problems the show has had before by saying, "It's made for kids"? No! You can't make up poor excuses like this. I will clarify, kids are very easy to entertain, but they're not stupid. The Miller era is an example why you wouldn't excuse something for kids. Most older fans had to get through 4 whole years of the same nonsensical, boring, stupid, annoying, ungodly, repetitive rhyming, writing, narration, and alliteration. And during those times, things kept getting worse and worse until when Blue Mountain Mystery came out in 2012. That's when the show was beginning to pick up steam and redeem itself. And just after season 17 came out a year later, in 2013, the show now fully redeemed itself and everybody was loving the show again. Do we want another era with a handful of bad episodes to happen ever again? I sure don't. Oh, and speak of the devil, if you want me to talk about these 2 miniseries, please don't ask me to review them. Ever. I do apologize for the unscripted part about these 2 Thomas and Friends miniseries. But let's move on. Now, let me be fair to you. I myself would have been one of those people that has taken the TV series for granted in some areas, like season 12. But even I'm at least one of those fans of the show that never forgets the fact that the TV series is a children's show, despite what parts of the show I have nitpicked, slammed on, or criticized about, unlike some people in the Thomas fandom. So in the end, is Thomas a kid's show? As intended, yes. But only just a kid's show? No. Thomas is more than just a show for kids. It's mature enough for teenagers and adults to enjoy, just like Pingu, SpongeBob, Looney Tunes, The Amazing World of Gumball, Adventure Time, or any other cartoon or children's series made for children of their age and demographic. But not to the point it would get so dark it would make kids feel very uncomfortable. The next topic goes to the Restore the Magic petition. Well, ever since 2007, Britt Allcroft announced she still had the original director's cut script for the movie, and because of this, there was a campaign called the Restore the Magic campaign. More logically, a petition. It's been that way ever since the 2000s after the film's release. And I can see where they are coming from, but is it really worth the signing? Well, okay. Before you think of calling me an ingrate or that I'm being mean to those involved in Restore the Magic, I will give them credit for making some effort on the hard work from these people at the time. But in my opinion, a director's cut release petition seems rather pointless now, because it would be at least a bit more simple to do a CGI animated remake of the movie with only the original director's cut script intact, and not the final cut script. And I know what some of yous are thinking. It can still fail with critics anyway, or isn't that the same thing what Pokemon did with how they recreated Mewtwo Strikes Back in full CGI? One, yes, I know it would still fail with critics, and yes, I know it would be something similar to what Pokemon did with the Mewtwo movie, but instead of a pointless petition that I had little to no care for it whatsoever, I think it's safe to say that I'd rather go for a CGI animated remake with the original director's cut script of Magic Railroad, rather than a director's cut being planned for release on DVD or the now released Blu-ray any day. Yes, the Blu-ray exists now. You can just go and look at the missing footage now. Again, I do appreciate the effort they tried. I'm not saying that said campaign is pointless because I'm against the director's cut in general. Don't get me wrong. I just don't feel like the release of it being on DVD or Blu-ray would work if we can just recreate it into CGI animation or make a remake of it containing the original script. And no, Mattel does not own Magic Railroad, okay? And neither does Hit Entertainment either. Oh, and speaking of which, I know this is a dead topic by now, but hearing about how Joseph Marshall managed to finally leak out all the original director's cut work print footage on a YouTube before Sony blocked the guy's sorry little ass was really outrageous and appalling. Yeah, way to disrespect the same woman who gave you the same show during childhood. Congratulations, you have really fucked up big time, even if it was old news, asshole! And to everybody else, regardless of how director's cut footage leaks happen all the time, at least give Britt Allcroft some sympathy. It's still an uncalled for act that Joseph Marshall would be so stupid as to steal the director's cut footage. She put her whole effort into all the hard work she did make anyway. Okay, that's enough rambling, so... Hey, it looks like I have jumped to the very end. What are my final thoughts on Thomas and the Magic Railroad now? Well, now that I think of it, despite its major nitpicks and problems, this movie, in my opinion nowadays, isn't as great as I thought as a youngster. But it's not god-awful either, to the point that it makes you wanna puke. Hell, it's not even worth giving this movie a mockery name as Thomas and the Tragic Failroad, because it is not the worst thing ever made, or even worth calling a kids movie that was so bad it raped your childhood, quote unquote. In fact, I think calling Magic Railroad as Thomas and the Tragic Failroad sounds like the fans might have taken advantage of the movie, or took the movie like it is a tragedy to the franchise, which I think is too harsh, cause yes, there are problems, but that doesn't make it all that awful. But I do ask you guys this. Why take this movie like it is some kind of tragedy to you? There are worse films out there, you know. The Emoji Movie is a prime example why it was a terrible movie to begin with. And in today, in the 2020s, I still hate this piece of crap for very good reasons. And still do to this day, as it is one of the worst animated movies of all time. Back on topic, is this movie as bad as some make it out to be? Nah, but if I have to choose what is the worst Thomas film, I would have to say Misty Island Rescue already takes that place for a variety of reasons. I do know for a fact that mixing Thomas with Shining Time Station isn't the best concept for a Thomas movie as some hope would be, but it certainly is a great idea on paper, is it? And if you can guess how I can rate this movie, I'd say 3.5 for me in the case of the final version. The original cut would get a 5 out of 5 if only it came out. But for now, the looks of the original cut scripts look very promising, and I would bump it down to a 4 out of 5, meaning the original script looks pretty good, despite what I have said about the Restore the Magic petition earlier. Even if this was said as a flop movie back then, it's at least watchable, inoffensive, and worthy for another generation of a G-rated audience. Britt Holcroft may not have succeeded with film critics, but at least she had succeeded with those that love the movie, and still do to this day. And I still give her effort and gratefulness for at least trying. And I still do to this day because, well, she did have potential. I liked this movie as a kid, but nowadays looking back, it's an okay film. It's still nostalgic at best either way, no matter how flawed it is. Yeah, I'm aware it's a flawed film, but what can I say? It is one of these movies that without it, my childhood would not have been shaped. I will never forget about this movie, and it would still remain as part of my childhood. I think it's still a decent enough film for a new generation of children to get into Thomas and Friends. That's all I want to say. What do you guys think of Thomas and the Magic Railroad yourselves? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye!